Kuzuzangpo. This week in the business file, we have the chairman of DHI Holding and Investments, His Excellency Lembu Om Pradhan. Kuzangbola, and welcome to business file.
Thank you.
So first of all, what has been the performance of DHI in 2012?
Well, before I go on to that, let me thank you, Ashok, for having given me this opportunity to come on your show. I think that this show is becoming increasingly popular, especially from the point of view that this is an opportunity for institutions like DHI Holdings and Investments to be able to communicate the way we do business, communicate what we are doing to the public of Bhutan. So this is, I think, a very important forum and an important opportunity for institutions like DHI. And I thank you very much. And I've seen also a number of your shows, and I must say that they are very impressive. I would like to take this opportunity to also congratulate you and BBS on this. Well, as far as the performance of DHI in 2012 is concerned, I think you have to take it from a little different perspective, in the sense that though DHI companies and DHI itself brings out annual balance sheets from which we get a clear picture of how these companies perform. But DHI is of necessity a very long-term undertaking. And it has already been about 5 years since DHI was established. And as you know, this was established within the framework of a royal charter issued by His Majesty the King. And just to get an idea of the royal charter, this is the royal charter, and it has 7 annexes. And these annexes very clearly outline what are the responsibilities and the mandates that DHI has. But in 2012, our DHI companies did exceedingly well. And I can go through the profits that these companies made. But what is more important is that we have been able to gradually, over the course of these 5 years, make the companies more efficient. More efficient in the sense that if they are service-oriented, like Bhutan Power Corporation, Bhutan Telecommunications, DHI Air, if they are more service-oriented, including the NRDCL, then their services have become increasingly more effective, more efficient, and you can see these from the the studies that we undertake to see how satisfied the customer is, customer satisfaction surveys that are conducted independently. So there has been a very distinct improvement in the way that customers have viewed the services of DHI companies. And the other thing is, of course, profitability. And when we look at profitability, as the Prime Minister himself announced it in his State of the Nation message, when he said that the profits of DHI that it gives to the government, that is the dividends actually, the dividends of the DHI, which is nearly 95 to 97% of what DHI obtains, has almost doubled from what it was in 2007, which was about 2 billion ngutams, to over 4 billion ngutams in 2012. Yeah.
What was reported in 2012 was that 2011 was that the profit had actually gone down comparing to the previous years. So has it gone up in 2012, or has it actually decreased from 2011?
Now the total revenues that different companies have given to the government as compared to 2011. When we say revenues, we include tax plus the dividends. So if you take that figure into account, for instance, DHI Green Power Corporation, in 2011, this is in millions, it was 10,000 948 or so, point something million. And in 2012, this was 11,090 million. So there was a distinct increase between 2011 to 2012. Then we come to the other big company which we have, that is Bhutan Power Corporation, which gave a revenue of 3,545 million as compared to 2012 when it was 4,140 million. So you can see a distinct increase in the revenues. Bhutan Telecommunications. In 2011, you had 1,833 million, whereas in 2012, it was 2,209 million. And similarly, if you go down the list, we have the, even if you look at Druke Corporation, which in 2011 was 2,261 million as compared to 2012, which was 2,719 million. And even the NRDCL, which is more or less actually a non-profit type of corporation for supply of timber, sand, and stones. Its revenues that were given was 346 million as compared to 413 million in 2012. And then we come to Bank of Bhutan. Bank of Bhutan, it was 1,757, whereas the revenues in 2012 were 2,136. So you can see a very distinct increase of the revenues. What we have said is that when it comes to sales of power from Bhutan to, say, India and within the country, there is one great problem which we have faced. Number one is that these are weather driven. You know, if there is a heavy rainfall, you can produce more power. If the water level is lower, then the power is less. Then at the same time, the price of power, whether it is domestic or it is for sales to India, is dependent on the government firstly deciding to increase or set the rates for domestic power use, or to negotiate with the government of India to increase the power rates. So this is in the hands of the government, not in the hands of DHI.
What we have seen in 2012 is we had a situation like rupee shortage, and a lot of your companies that deal with either with export or import with India. So even when we had that problem, any of the companies under DHI didn't face any problem.
No, you can't say we didn't face any problems. The shortage of rupees within the economy, it affects us in various ways.
Yes.
There are different ways in which this affects us.
But all the companies have managed to make a profit.
Yeah, we make a profit. We earn a lot of rupees also. Most of the rupees that is earned through power sales to India goes to the government. So there is a lot of rupee earnings. At the same time, we have also a lot of rupee expenditures in the sense that we import machineries, we import various other items, and in the STCBL, for instance, in the STCB, they import a lot of cars, even though the cars may be imported from India, and the Tata trucks from India. Even if it is imported from Japan, when it lands in Calcutta, the issue of rupees comes in immediately, you see, because you have to transport these and all this rupee. But I must say that on the whole, like when we talk about the major expenditures that we make, for instance, in Dungsam Cement project, which we are still constructing, Dagacho hydroelectric project, which we are still constructing, there the government has been very forthcoming. We have faced no shortage as such of rupees to import whatever we wanted in this regard. So for the projects, we really did not come across a situation where we were in dire need of rupees, because this was whenever needed made available by the government and the RMA.
Yes. So when you were talking about, since Limpo brought this up, Dungsam Cement project, it hasn't completed within the deadline now. What went wrong there?
Well, various reasons have been given, but I have looked into the situation, and one of the main reasons is because of encountering geological problems which had not been known at the time when the project was undertaken. When I say geological problems, is that for the foundation, we had to dig in much more than was envisaged earlier. We had to sort of excavate much more than we thought we had to do earlier. So that was one key reason. Then the other reasons were first natural calamities. We had this Hurricane Aila, and there was a lot of flooding in the area. Thirdly, we had a lot of problems on the Indian side because of frequent bunds, frequent stoppages of our vehicles. Then we had a number of labor problems where the labor would not stay constantly within the project. So these were issues which are unforeseen. It is not because of lack of finances. It is not because of delay in supply of machineries. It is not because of any delays in infrastructure construction in India or in Bhutan. So these delays are delays which were unforeseen, and I think that for any major project, we have to keep these calculations in mind.
DHI has a core mandate like corporate performance improvement. So what are some of the activities undertaken within that mandate?
In order to help us implement the Royal Charter, we have brought out 5 thrust areas, so that it helps DHI to actually focus in on those activities which help us to fulfill the mandate in the Royal Charter. And these 5 thrust areas is firstly performance improvement. It's performance improvement. Performance improvement of the corporations. And the Charter requires us to try to increase their performance to that level of excellence where they can compete not only with companies within the country, but also in the region and even beyond. So performance improvement is one of the key areas of DHI's activities. And you would have already seen this performance improvement. You would have seen this in the Bank of Bhutan, where when DHI started its activities, we had no electronic ways of banking. The CBS system, which we installed in the Bank of Bhutan, which now enables you to do all your banking transactions on the internet. The use of credit cards by foreigners, credit and debit cards in Bhutan, which you could not do 3-4 years ago. Now, foreigners coming to Bhutan can use their credit cards, their debit cards, as if they are anywhere else in the world. Similarly, Bhutanese traveling abroad, you had to carry cash before. Now you can take a credit card or a debit card from any of the banks and use it abroad. So this is how we have taken the Bank of Bhutan to a level where now I think that its services are equal to any international bank and is improving day by day. Then of course there are this is the Bhutan telecommunications. As you know, we have been able to, in keeping with the government's policies and plans, now you have these telecommunications facilities in 204 of the 205 GEOs, I think, in all the 20 dzongkhas. So I think that if you look at it from that point of view, the constant improvement of the services of DHI companies, constant attempt to increase the revenues for the government. This is what DHI does in order to enhance the performance of companies. Then the other thrust area, which we have already talked about, is resource optimization. Resource optimization in this context is also to utilize surplus resources in one corporation and take it to where it is required in another corporation or for a new investment. Now, this also we have been constantly doing. For instance, we injected funds from DGPC for the DHI infra. And we also took some funds from the bank to other corporations. So in this way, DHI, because it controls all these companies, we are able to use funds that are available within the country in an optimal manner. Whereas if the DHI umbrella was not there, then what would have happened is that one company would be sitting with surpluses while another company would be borrowing funds or can't undertake its project because they have no funds. So this is one of the main mandates of DHI. And I think that DHI has been able to function very effectively in this regard.
The thing is now, you also have the investment area where DHI invests in a company. So what are the activities carried out in that?
Of course, there are many areas. The first one, I would say, is Dungsam Polymers, which manufactures these bags for cement. This project is already completed. And in fact, we want to float part of the shares in this company to the public. And some priority will be given to people from whom we have taken the land in Dungsam to set up this factory. So this is one area. I mean, we have invested actually nearly 168 million for this. And then the Thimphu Tech Park, we are the 26% shareholders on behalf of the government. So here also we have put in nearly 225 million in the Thimphu Tech Park as our equity, Bhutan's equity. Government asked us to be the Bhutanese partner with the foreign partner in this regard. Then we wanted to also use every means to increase the power production in the Chuka and Tala projects, especially the Chuka project. And we have been able to divert 2 streams to this, we have spent nearly 176 million, and as a result of which we will get an additional generation of 67 million units, which translates, if you translate into revenues, it's nearly 135 million per year.
That is throughout the year.
That is, I would say that whenever there's the water, but this is on a per year calculation. Then similarly, of course, Dungsam Cement Plant, we are continuing the investments. We had received 3,000 million from the Government of India as a grant. But the project cost now is nearly 1,000 million. That is 1,000 crores.
So how is DHI meeting that extra money, expenses?
So this we have been able to do firstly from taking a loan from our own financial institutions. Number 2, from Indian financial institutions. Number 3, from our own sources, the revenues that we have generated. So we have been able to meet these expenses from different sources. Then Dagachu, we are continuing to construct Dagachu. There has been delay in this project also. You may like to ask why. And the reason is, again here, we came across a lot of geological surprises while tunneling. The geological studies were done, but were not as detailed or as correct as we wanted them to be. So we came across all these surprises, which meant that where we thought was hard rock, there would be collapses, and this resulted in a lot of time. But all the problems have been addressed. And we feel that by 2014, this project will be completed. Then we are also collaborating with Alstom Hydro Holding from France to set up with DGPC what are known as Bhutan Hydropower Services. As you know, all the generators have runners, and these runners have to be repaired from time to time. And so far, we have to send them to BHEL in India. In some cases, it's even sent abroad. And it's a very, very expensive process. So in order to repair some of these, we are setting up the unit in Gelefo. And we are going to spend quite a lot of money on this. It's nearly over 1 billion newtons of investments is going to be made here. Then we also, have invested in this one dairy plant with the Japanese. This is not because DHI wants to be involved with dairy products, but what happened was that a Japanese firm, SNBL, led by a person called Dr. Nagata, who the government felt could contribute in a meaningful way to Bhutanese development. And actually we wanted him to set up a pharmaceutical unit. But to begin his activities in Bhutan, he showed interest in this dairy project in eastern Bhutan. And the Animal Husbandry Department did not have the funds to collaborate with him. So we were asked to collaborate with Dr. Nagata, and we've set up a corporation called Koufuku International Private Limited Corporation, for which we have the project cost is about 70 million. So DHI is participating with the hope that SNBL will move into other industrial production, biomedical, yes, biomedical with biotechnology that is brought from outside. So with that hope, we are sort of keeping our collaboration as meaningful as possible. And this is the reason why we are there. Then, as you know, the Bhutan Education City project has been launched, and DHI was there to do all the groundwork in a very transparent manner. And now we have handed over this project to the Bhutan Education Board.
So DHI has another important role to play in terms of the growth of a private sector. So what are the some of the works that DHI has carried out in this area?
DHI has a mandate within the framework of the Charter to work with the private sector. Now here we have prepared a guideline, specific guideline, how the private sector can collaborate with DHI. We have prepared that. We have not received any meaningful proposal from the private sector. So what DHI has done is that firstly, we try to help the private sector in its discussions with the government to improve the enabling environment. The private sector, actually what it requires most is an enabling business environment. And there is a lot that the government can do towards bringing about this enabling environment in the form of improving the licensing system, in the form of making resources available on a level playing field, in the form of ensuring that they have other factors of production, like labor, for instance, land. All these the government has to have rules and regulations and procedures which facilitate the private sector. So DHI is working with the private sector, with the government, to try to create this enabling environment.
Limbula, what is lacking just now?
Well, if you ask me that question, I think that the first thing is that we have a lot of problems still with the speed with which business licenses are given, and this is not my view per se. I was looking at the Doing Business report of the World Bank and the ADB, and there Bhutan is unfortunately quite is ranked quite low. So I was wondering why this was the case. So I was reading some of the details which they put forward in this report, and they said, oh, licensing, it takes much longer than in other countries, something like 185 days or something like that. But I don't think that is in the case of all licenses. For instance, business licenses, I know it doesn't take that long. But I think that this, I hope the Ministry of Economic Affairs is looking into this. But in many cases, like getting an environment clearance, for instance, then now you have to also get the approval of the local people. And this is also, we are a government organization and doing it as per government directive. Still, it takes such a long time. And then land issues. It's a very difficult thing to get land for, setting up a private industry. But if there's government land, there's the National Land Commission. So all these procedures have to be, what I would say is that, we have to be aware of the new developments that are taking place in the country, and we have to change accordingly. We have to bring about the changes.
Then another thing is, of course, the way the DHI contributes to the national exchequer, yes, the government revenue. Yes. So how has that improved over the years?
Well, as I was mentioning, the Prime Minister in his State of the Nation message mentioned that DHI revenues to the government was about 2 billion or so in 2008, and in 2012 it was about 4.2 billion. So that shows that the revenue doubled. And here, this you have to be very clear, is that DHI's revenue earnings is actually meant for the government. And as I mentioned, 95 to 97% of the revenues, the dividends of DHI, is handed over to Ministry of Finance. In fact, we also almost give directly all the power earnings. Because if we don't give this directly, even before the accounts are done, even before the balance sheet is brought out for the year, we send this revenues directly to Ministry of Finance. 90% of this goes directly to Ministry of Finance, because the Ministry of Finance needs the money for its running expenditures.
So with the establishment of DHI, what has changed in a way that the government revenue is managed?
Well, the first thing which I have noticed is, in the past, the earnings from these corporations or the government corporations to the Ministry of Finance was highly erratic. That means 1 year it would be, say, $500 million. Next year it would be 1 billion. The third year it would again go down to $250 million or something. It was highly erratic. Now with the establishment of DHI, the revenue earnings are very steady, and we increase them every year at a particular, at least 3-4%, whatever it is. We increase the revenues to the government. But basically, it is, if you drew a graph, it would be a very steady rise. Whereas earlier, the graph would be very erratic, it will go up and down, you see. So I think that there is a lot of appreciation for this steady, because they can predict what revenues are going to come, plan their expenditures accordingly.
On that note, thank you very much for joining us in this show. It was indeed a pleasure listening and talking to you.
Thank you very much.
And for our viewers who have been watching this program, this has been a business file with the chairman of Druk Holding and Investment, His Excellency Limpopo Pradhan. I'm your host Ashok Tirua. This is goodbye.